This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
New cases of COVID-19 worldwide reach 150,000, with the death toll passing the 6,000 mark. The World Health Organization appeals for more funding to help African countries cope with COVID-19 pandemic. And Ethiopia ready to resume negotiations over the Grand Renaissance Dam, but seeks mutually beneficial relationship. Hello and welcome to CGTN. This is Africa Live and I'm Karen Roberts in Nairobi. Also coming up in the programme, the next generation of locusts may soon hatch in Kenya, raising food security concerns. And in sports, Egypt postpones all football activities due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We begin with the latest on the coronavirus pandemic. A dramatic increase in new cases has been reported worldwide, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 150,000. The death toll has now passed 6,000. Outside China, 135 countries have confirmed 80,000 cases, an increase of more than 12,000 in the past 24 hours. Italy has the largest outbreak in Europe. It reported nearly 3,500 new cases on Saturday. Spain reported some 2,000 new cases and more than 100 deaths, the latest spike in Europe's second most affected country. Iran is the worst affected country in the Middle East, with over 1,200 new cases. The spread of the disease continues to slow down in South Korea, with 76 new infections. And in China, 16 out of the 20 cases on the mainland were people arriving from abroad. Only 4 new cases were confirmed in the epicenter, Wuhan, and over 80% of patients in China have now recovered. To Tunisia now, where the country's health ministry has confirmed 2 more cases of the coronavirus. This now brings the total number of confirmed cases there to 18. Most of the cases detected are in adults, with 1 case of an infant who contracted the virus from a parent. CGTN's Adnan Chouachi has more.
The director of the National Observatory of New and Emerging Diseases said that the tests that were carried out on 70 people have shown that only 2 were infected.
The first case of infection is a 47-year-old citizen in the governorate of Tatane, who arrived from France on March 12th and was admitted to hospital in Tatane, while the second case was detected in a 71-year-old woman in the governorate of Ariana.
Ben Aliyah stressed that the total number of confirmed cases of virus infection includes 9 imported and 9 others who contracted the virus locally.
The total number of people who have been placed in self-isolation amounts to 4,617 people, of whom 2,170 have spent the 14 days of self-quarantine, while 2,447 other citizens are currently placed in self-isolation.
The Minister of Health said that Tunisia has recorded no cluster of coronavirus. El-Maki added that more than 4 cases of infection contracted separately from people who have not been in contact with the infected ones were recorded in the governorate of Ariana, in the capital city Tunis.
We must get ready for the new wave of the virus in order to limit its impact by limiting the number of infections and saving lives. The Crisis Management Unit is putting in place a wide organization and strategy. All governors have been informed about the strict sanitary and security measures.
The Department of Health has issued a series of recommendations on self-isolation to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Anyone with clinical signs of the virus must comply with the 14-day self-isolation procedure. Health authorities have restricted outdoor activities and contact with family members to persons who are self-isolated. Prime Minister Lies Farfer declared that the coronavirus pandemic has imposed an exceptionally difficult situation on Tunisia and the rest of the world. He added that Tunisians are fighting this virus in a courageous and responsible manner. Aden Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
Here in Kenya, the country's President Uhuru Kenyatta has confirmed 2 new cases of the coronavirus. In a televised address to the nation, Kenyatta said the confirmations followed tests on 27 people who came into close contact with the country's first patient. This now brings the total number of confirmed cases in the East African nation to 3. Following this latest development, President Kenyatta initiated stringent regulations to prevent the virus spreading. Among the regulations include suspension of travel for all people coming into the country from any country with cases of COVID-19. All people who came to Kenya in the last 14 days must also self-quarantine. Kenyatta suspended classes in all educational institutions while calling on government offices to allow employees to work from home. He further urged Kenyans to avoid social gatherings and to embrace the use of cashless transactions. Hospitals and shopping malls have also been ordered to provide water, soap and hand sanitizers to people visiting their premises. Well, let's now look at the numbers across Africa. Countries across the continent have reported over 200 cases so far, with around 7 deaths. Kenya has confirmed 2 more cases, bringing the total number of COVID-19 patients to 3. The 2 were reportedly infected after being in contact with Kenya's first COVID-19 patient. One of them holds dual British and Kenyan citizenship, while the other is a Kenyan. The Republic of Congo has recorded its first case. Ethiopia has reported 3 more, raising its total to 4. The 3 were in contact with the first reported case and were traced by Ethiopian health officials. Egypt maintains the highest number of COVID-19 cases so far, after confirming at least 110 cases and 2 deaths. It was earlier reported that 26 people have recovered. In South Africa, there are now 51 reported cases, up from 38. Meanwhile, Algeria has 37 infections and has reported the 3rd death from the disease. Senegal reported 3 new cases on Saturday, bringing its new total to 24. In Côte d'Ivoire, 3 new cases have been detected, bringing the total number of cases to 4. Morocco has applied strict border restrictions in response to COVID-19. It has 17 cases and 1 recorded death. Nigerian health officials say a COVID-19 patient has tested negative. Equatorial Guinea has reported its first case. Namibia has confirmed 2 infections. Uganda's tourism industry, one of the biggest foreign revenue earners in the country, is being affected by the coronavirus. Many of the visitors who usually come to Uganda are from countries with the highest number of cases of COVID-19. The Ministry of Health has advised visitors from those countries to postpone their travel or to undergo compulsory quarantine in Uganda. CGTN's Isabel Nakiria reports.
Visitor numbers to Uganda have started slowing down, with several international airlines cancelling flights over the coronavirus. Travelers are now postponing their trips. The continued uncertainty is leading to a decline in business for the tourism sector.
Now, for some of us also who are also running lodges, we serve not only our tourists or our guests, we also serve guests from other tour operators. We've also experienced cancellations with our lodge bookings. So that means our income levels have certainly gone down, but yet our overheads are still remaining the same. We've got to pay rent, we've got to pay salaries, we've got to pay taxes.
Uganda has restricted visitors from 16 countries with high cases of the coronavirus, including the US and UK, where many tourists to the country come from. The Minister of Health is advising all hoteliers and tour operators to ensure they have all the preventive measures in place, like the hand washers and sanitizers. But with the 14 days quarantine in place, visitors may not have enough time for leisure. Hoteliers say bookings have dropped because of the restrictions.
I don't know of any hotel that has laid off staff or had to close some of the blocks. We're trying to keep vibrant, but it's a matter of time. Unless there's a strong drop in the rate of acceleration at which it's growing, we will have to make some structural adjustments so as to keep afloat.
Tourism brings in about $1.4 billion, according to the Uganda Tourism Board. International conferences and expos in the country and around the world have also been cancelled, and the sector predicts a downward trend.
Now, even the opportunity to actually go market and reassure clients that we are a safe destination, we do not have corona in Uganda at the moment, the opportunity to do that has also now been curtailed because of the cancellations that are happening for the expos. So it means we've got to change the way we do business. We've got to change the approaches. It's going to be less of the face-to-face and physical contact kind of business approach. Now maybe use more of social media, use more of the technologies that are around.
While Uganda is trying to ensure all the preventive measures are in place, it's not banned travelers from the countries with the highest number of COVID-19 cases. The government is maintaining screening at the Entebbe International Airport and all border points. The Health Ministry hopes the systems in place will help stop the spread of the disease into the country. Isabel Nakiria, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
The World Health Organization is calling for more funding for the fight against coronavirus. The fund is meant to help African countries with fragile health systems to boost their detection and response operations. CGTN's Daniel Arap-Moy is in Congo-Brazzaville, the headquarters of WHO Africa region, and brings us more.
The World Health Organization's funding needs for the response stands at $98 million, of which $44 million have been received, leaving a funding gap of $54 million.
The overall budget for the organization is roughly around 600 million. And our initial estimation for the African region alone is about 46 million. This is for WHO to provide support. But this do not include what countries need, for example, to rehabilitate health facilities. And also for us, this is to provide technical support and fill critical gap if something happens in a given country.
WHO's initial strategic preparedness and response plan called for a total resource requirement of $675 million, of which 61 million were for urgent preparedness and response activities for the period of February to April 2020.
The appeal that was launched at the beginning for the strategic response plan is to give us the means, and actually is the means for us to continue providing technical advice, but also making sure that, for example, we preposition the required equipment or supply.
Other partner organizations are also facing shortfalls that have led some to reduce or stop operations. There are growing fears that if the funds are not received, World Health Organization will be unable to sustain the response at the current scale. Daniel Arap-Moy, CGTN, Congo-Brazzaville.
We are going to a short break now. Don't go away. Lots more to come, including Ethiopia ready to resume negotiations over the Grand Renaissance Dam, but seeks mutually beneficial relationship. And the next generation of locusts may soon hatch in Kenya, raising food security concerns.
How will your world change today? What happens here? What happens there? Or what you make happen for yourself? If it matters to you, it matters to us too. Your stories are the stories that need to be told. Africa Live. Find your voice.
In Nigeria, a pipeline explosion has left at least 15 people dead and destroyed about 50 buildings in Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos. Several people were injured and taken to hospital, according to the country's National Emergency Management Agency. Pipeline fires are common in Nigeria and they are mostly caused by theft and sabotage. The methods used to steal oil often result in accidents.
It started with a smoke. Gradually, the smoke was coming up, and later we had a sound, very big one, and everywhere exploded. Some houses collapsed, even the roofs, everywhere collapsed, and some people died. Even the school here, people died. Yes, people died. The Bethlehem school here, some students there because the school is boarding school. Students died.
They just called me. There's a fire in the school, so I just rushed down because I'm living in this place at the staff quarters. If you watch, you can see this is my cloth here. So I just rushed down to come and see. As I came here, everywhere was exploded, fire everywhere. So I don't even know about the whereabouts of the students, where they are right now.
The Ethiopian government says it's ready to come back to the negotiating table for renewed talks over the Grand Renaissance Dam. It's also calling on Egypt, Sudan, as well as all the Arab League and Nile Basin nations to work in solidarity for regional stability and mutual growth.
It's been weeks since the tripartite negotiations on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam stalled due to a disagreement between Ethiopia and Egypt. Ethiopia's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geddu Andargacho, says his country has conditions in order for the situation to return to normalcy.
The solution for the disagreement is again negotiation. We demand serious and fair talks to take place for us to return to the table once again. The only choice we have is to agree on this. For this, a strong political will from the Egypt side is needed.
The minister has emphasized the waters of the Nile belong to all of the Nile Basin nations, regardless of who contributes how much of the water.
Though the source of most of the Nile water can be located in Ethiopia, and even if more than 85% of the water is contributed by Ethiopia, Ethiopia not even a single day said I have to benefit from this water alone. The waters of the Nile belongs to Ethiopians, Sudanese, Egyptians, and people of other Nile Basin countries. We give full recognition for the right of the lower basin nations to use the water, and we properly understand our right of using the Nile responsibly.
When explaining the importance of the GERD, Geddu said the project holds the key for Ethiopia to free itself from the bonds of poverty.
In Ethiopia, more than 65 million citizens live without electricity in this 21st century. Secondly, the investors we have invited to the country to help us defeat poverty are suffering from insufficient power supply, preventing their industries from bearing fruit. Hundreds of factories are affected due to this. Every year, hundreds of thousands of Ethiopians graduate from high schools and universities. It's mandatory to create jobs for these young people. The key for all these problems is found in the completion of the Renaissance Dam project.
Ethiopia's Foreign Affairs Minister also has sent out a strong message for the Arab League.
The Arab League had a chance to use this situation to strengthen ties between the Horn and the Middle East. I believe it still has that opportunity at its hand, and we believe the Arab League can still positively impact the difference between Ethiopia and Egypt. The Arab League should have a role to promote solidarity among countries of the Eastern Africa region and the Middle East based on mutual cooperation. But having said this, the League's intervention and promotion of conflict on the matter that is not even concluded yet between three countries is unacceptable.
For now, and despite the United States' interest for Ethiopia to avoid any moves regarding the filling of the dam, Addis Ababa is determined to follow the normal schedule at hand and begin filling the dam in July. Ethiopia believes if not fair negotiations, nothing can and will stop the successful completion of its mega hydropower generating dam. Grum Chala CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Kenya could be on the verge of a food crisis if the locust invasion is not brought under control. The Food and Agriculture Organization says in a few weeks' time, the next generation of locusts will begin to hatch. This is expected to happen as crops begin to sprout, further worsening an already dire situation. CGTN's Mohamed Abubakar has more.
East Africa has witnessed the worst desert locust outbreak in decades. Kenya in particular is staring at a food crisis due to a renewed invasion by the destructive pests. Mature swarms are laying eggs across the country, many of which are already hatching. Volunteers from the National Youth Service have teamed up with county governments to combat the locusts.
I have to brief them on how to use the chemical. You have to keep on reminding the use of the chemical, the balance of the chemical and mixing ratio. You have to remind them on how to use the protective gear, because if you don't use the protective gear, it might be harmful to you. If you do wrong, any slight wrong mistake, it can bring back bad effect on your body and your health.
One such volunteer is Derek Mwangi, who joined the National Youth Service last year. This will be his 5th time participating in the locust control program.
I love doing this because it's helping my community. The challenge here, it's only the temperature. The temperatures here are too high.
With the next generation of locusts projected to hatch in a few weeks, the impact of the infestation could be devastating. The locusts have devoured huge amounts of pasture, posing a threat to the food security of livestock and local communities.
If they're not taken rid of, it will affect the pasture. Most of them are pastoralists, and we had many communities, different communities within the area. And the most problem that it might cause, because of conflict of the scarce pasture caused by the locust, it might cause, that is, tribal conflicts.
According to the Kenyan government, the locusts have invaded 26 counties. The government says it has trained 500 NYS officers to help combat the pests. But despite all these efforts, farmers are worried that the newly hatched hoppers will reverse the gains in the fight against the invasion so far. Mohamed Abubakar, CGTN.
We are going to a short break. Don't go away, lots more to come, including Egypt becomes the latest country to postpone all football activities due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find